I've been called cold my entire life. Calculating, unfeeling, the sister who chose spreadsheets over baby showers, corner offices over cribs. What they don't know is that I've been dying inside for 15 years, watching every pregnancy announcement on social media like a knife to the chest. My name is Sydney, and I'm 35 years old. I run a tech startup that's worth more money than my parents ever dreamed of, but according to my mother, I'm still the family failure. Amy's our only chance at a legacy. Mom was telling Mrs. Patterson from next door when I walked into the kitchen unannounced last Tuesday. Sydney's just, well, you know how career women are. All ambition, no heart. I stood there, holding grocery bags, invisible as always. Mrs. Patterson nodded sympathetically while Mom continued her performance. Amy's been trying for 3 years now. Such a devoted wife, such a natural mother. If only she could catch a break. I cleared my throat. Both women jumped. Oh, Sydney! Mom's face flushed. I didn't hear you come in. Clearly. I set the bags on the counter harder than necessary. Where's Amy? Upstairs, resting. The hormones from the last round have been so hard on her. Of course they had been. Amy's struggles were always center stage, performed with the dramatic flair of a soap opera star. My own silent battles with infertility, those were just my cross to bear, apparently. That night, Amy called through tears. Sydney, I need to ask you something huge. Her voice cracked. Can you come over? Blaze and we need to talk to you. An hour later, I sat in their pristine living room, the one decorated entirely in soft pastels and inspirational quotes about motherhood. Amy curled up on the couch like a wounded bird while Blaze paced behind her, running his hands through his hair. This is our last shot, Amy began, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Dr. Martinez says we have enough for one more round of IVF, but insurance won't cover it anymore. Blaze finished. We've maxed out everything. Amy looked up at me with those big brown eyes that had gotten her out of trouble our entire childhood. We need $50,000. The number hung in the air like smoke. 50,000, the exact amount I'd been quoted by Dr. Ruby for my own fertility treatments, the ones I'd been secretly pursuing for 2 years. That's a lot of money, I said carefully. I know it's huge. Amy's voice broke again. But you're the only one who has it. Mom and Dad are already stretched thin helping us with the house, and Blaze's family. We'll pay you back, Blaze interrupted. Every penny, with interest. I watched my sister dissolve into fresh tears, her hands pressed protectively over her flat stomach. The sister who'd gotten the bigger bedroom, the prettier prom dress, the parents' undivided attention, the sister who everyone assumed would be the mother, while I was just a spinster aunt with money. Please, Sydney. Amy's whisper was barely audible. This baby, it's everything to me. To us. I can't give up. Something cold and sharp crystallized in my chest. Not sympathy, something harder, more calculating. Okay, I heard myself say. Amy's head snapped up. Really? I'll transfer the money tomorrow. She launched herself across the coffee table, wrapping me in a hug that smelled like vanilla and desperation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't know what this means. But I did know. I knew exactly what it meant. Blaze shook my hand with tears in his eyes. Sydney, you're saving our family. Don't mention it, I said, and I meant it literally. They walked me to the door, gushing about baby names and nursery themes, already spending money they didn't have on dreams that might never come true. Amy never asked why I'd agreed so quickly, never wondered why $50,000 rolled off my tongue like pocket change, or what strings might be attached to such generosity. She never asked because she'd never had to think about anyone but herself. After I got home, I climbed the stairs to my bedroom and opened the safe hidden behind my dresser. Inside sat a small metal box, and inside that box were two things that would change everything: a signed surrogacy contract with Amy's forged signature, and a sealed medical vial containing my own genetically perfect embryo. Amy thought she was getting a miracle. She had no idea she was about to become my surrogate. 6 months earlier, I'd sat in Dr. Ruby's pristine office, staring at the consent forms spread across her desk like a roadmap to my future. The embryo quality is excellent, Dr. Ruby said, adjusting her wire rimmed glasses. Your hormone levels have responded beautifully to treatment. We can proceed whenever you're ready. I need you to freeze it, I told her, and I need complete discretion. She raised an eyebrow. Sydney, you've been through 3 months of preparation. Your body is ready now. Why wait? I pulled out my phone and showed her Amy's latest Instagram post, a tearful selfie with the caption, "Another negative test. God's timing isn't always our timing." TTC, never give up. Because I'm not carrying this baby. Someone else is. Dr. Ruby set down her pen. I'm not sure I understand. My sister is going through IVF. She's going to ask me for money. When she does, I want you to handle the transfer. Sydney, what you're describing sounds like surrogacy. Gestational surrogacy, to be specific. Completely legal when done properly. Dr. Ruby was quiet for a long moment. Does your sister know she'd be carrying your genetic material? She will, eventually. This is highly irregular. I leaned forward. But not illegal. You've handled surrogacy cases before, with full disclosure to all parties. The disclosure will come, just not immediately. Dr. Ruby studied my face. Why this way, Sydney? Because for 35 years, everyone has assumed Amy would be the mother and I'd be the career woman. It's time they learned they were half right. 3 days later, I sat in Jose's law office while he reviewed the contract I'd drafted. This is bulletproof, he said, flipping through pages. But Sydney, if your sister signs this without reading it, that's her choice. I'm not forcing her to sign anything. You're not exactly being transparent either. Jose had been my friend since law school, back when I still believed fairness existed in the world. Now he just shook his head and notarized the documents. Full custody and parental rights transferred to you upon birth, he read aloud. The gestational carrier waives all maternal claims. Jesus, Sydney. Is it legal? Unfortunately, yes. In this state, gestational surrogacy contracts are enforceable if properly executed. Then we're done here. The day Amy called about the money, I was ready. I transferred $50,000 to Dr. Martinez's office with instructions that Dr. Ruby would be handling the embryo preparation as a specialist consultant. Amy never questioned it. She was too busy posting about miracles and answered prayers. The transfer happened on a Tuesday morning. Amy lay on the examination table, holding Blaze's hand while Dr. Ruby prepared the catheter. I watched from the corner, invisible as always. This is it, Amy whispered. I can feel it. This is our baby. Blaze squeezed her fingers. I love you. The embryo looks perfect, Dr. Ruby announced, not looking at me. Strong cell division, excellent grade. Amy closed her eyes. Please work. Please work. Dr. Ruby inserted the catheter with practiced precision. In that moment, my genetic material, my future child, was placed into my sister's body. Amy had no idea she'd just become my surrogate. All done, Dr. Ruby said. Rest here for 20 minutes, then you can go home. Amy started crying. Thank you so much. But she was looking at Blaze, not Dr. Ruby, not me. After they left, Dr. Ruby pulled me aside. I wanted on record that I advised against this approach. Noted. That woman has no idea what she just agreed to carry. She agreed to carry a baby. That's exactly what she's doing. 2 weeks later, Amy called me screaming. It worked! Sydney, it worked! I'm pregnant! I was in my office, reviewing quarterly reports. That's wonderful news. Mom's crying. Dad's crying. Blaze bought champagne even though I can't drink it. Her laugh was pure joy. We're having a baby. Congratulations. That evening, I drove to my parents' house. Through the window, I could see them all gathered around the kitchen table, Amy glowing in the center, Mom stroking her hair, Dad beaming with pride. I knocked and walked in. The celebration stopped. Sydney! Amy jumped up and hugged me. Did you hear? We're pregnant? I heard. Mom wiped her eyes. It's a miracle after everything Amy's been through. She's going to be such a beautiful mother, Dad added. I watched them fawn over Amy, over the pregnancy, over the future they were all planning together. None of them knew they were celebrating my child. This calls for a toast, Blaze said, raising his sparkling cider. To Amy, the strongest woman I know. They clinked glasses while I stood there, the forgotten sister who'd made it all possible. Amy caught my eye and mouthed, "Thank you," across the room. I smiled back, thinking about the contract in my safe and the DNA test that would come later. She had no idea what she was really thanking me for. The baby shower invitation arrived on cream colored cardstock with gold foil lettering. Celebrating Amy's little miracle, it read, with a date circled in pink highlighter and a handwritten note from Mom. Please come, but keep a low profile. This day is about Amy. I stared at those words for a full minute. Keep a low profile at my own child's baby shower. The party was held at Mom's house, transformed into a pastel wonderland. Pink and white balloons covered every surface, and a three-tiered cake sat on the dining room table with Baby Girl written in delicate script. I arrived exactly on time, carrying the most expensive gift on the registry, a $400 stroller system. The living room was packed with Amy's friends, coworkers, and distant relatives I hadn't seen in years. Sydney! Amy waddled over, her hand resting on her 6-month bump. My bump! You came! Of course I came! She looked radiant in a flowing pink dress, her hair styled in loose curls. Everyone turned to watch her move through the room like a queen holding court. Ladies, can I have your attention? Mom tapped her champagne flute with a fork. The chatter died down. I want to thank you all for being here to celebrate Amy and this precious miracle she's carrying. Mom's voice wavered with emotion. As many of you know, this journey hasn't been easy, but Amy never gave up hope, never stopped believing. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Some women are just born to be mothers, Mom continued, her eyes finding Amy across the room. They have that special gift, that natural instinct. Amy has always had it, even as a little girl. I stood in the corner, invisible behind a cluster of women cooing over tiny onesies. And some women? Mom's gaze flickered to me for just a second. Well, some women find their purpose in other ways: career success, financial stability. They contribute differently. My hands clenched around my wine glass. But today is about celebrating what Amy was born to do, what she's always been meant to do. Mom raised her glass to Amy, who's giving us the greatest gift of all, the next generation of our family. The room erupted in applause. Amy dabbed at her eyes, glowing under the attention. I watched 25 women toast my pregnancy, my child, my genetic legacy growing inside my sister's body. Not one of them knew the truth. Speech! Speech! Someone called out. Amy stood up slowly, one hand on her back. I just wanted to say, this baby is everything to me, everything Blaze and I have dreamed of, after so many disappointments, so many failed cycles. She paused to compose herself. I was starting to think maybe I wasn't meant to be a mother. Never, Mom called out. You were always meant for this. The doctors said this embryo was perfect, like it was meant to be. Amy's voice grew stronger. Sometimes I think this baby chose me, chose us. I nearly choked on my wine. My coworker, Savannah, appeared at my elbow. You okay? Fine. This is insane, she whispered. How are you just standing here? What choice do I have? You could tell them the truth. Not yet. Amy opened presents for the next hour. My child's first clothes, first toys, first books. Each gift was met with squeals of delight and predictions about what kind of mother Amy would be. She's going to be so nurturing, said Amy's college roommate. Natural born mommy, agreed a cousin. This baby is so lucky to have her. I excused myself to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. In the mirror, I looked pale and hollow eyed. This was harder than I'd expected. When I came back, Blaze was standing alone by the gift table, staring at the pile of opened boxes. Hell of a party, I said. He startled. Oh, hey, Sydney. Yeah, Amy's really happy. You don't look happy. He glanced around, making sure no one was listening. Can I ask you something? Sure. The money you gave us, that was a lot. More than most people just have lying around. I do well for myself. I know, but he lowered his voice. Amy never asked why you said yes so fast, but I've been wondering. My pulse quickened. Wondering what? You've never shown much interest in kids, never seemed like the aunt type, then suddenly you're writing a $50,000 check for IVF? Maybe I wanted to help my sister. Maybe? He studied my face. Or maybe you had your own reasons. Before I could respond, Amy appeared beside us. What are you two talking about? Just thanking Sydney again, Blaze said smoothly. Amy beamed at me. Seriously, Sydney, without you, none of this would be possible. This baby owes her whole existence to you. The irony was so thick I could taste it. You have no idea, I said. Blaze's eyes sharpened. What do you mean? I mean, I'm glad I could help. But Blaze kept staring at me, and I could see the wheels turning in his head. He was starting to put pieces together. You're the donor, aren't you? He said quietly. Amy laughed. What are you talking about? The egg donor? Sydney's the egg donor. The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Amy's face went white. What? No, that's. Blaze, what are you talking about? Think about it, Blaze said, his voice getting louder. Sydney pays for everything, insists on using that specialist consultant, and now she's acting weird around the baby stuff. You're being paranoid, Amy snapped, but her eyes darted between us. I kept my expression neutral. I'm not the donor, Blaze. It wasn't technically a lie. I was the biological mother, not just a donor. See? Amy grabbed his arm. You're being crazy. But Blaze didn't look convinced. He stared at me for another long moment before Amy dragged him away to cut the cake. The party ended with more tears and hugs. Amy collected her gifts while Mom organized everything into neat piles. Sydney, can you help carry these to Amy's car? Mom asked. I loaded box after box of baby supplies, clothes, blankets, bottles, toys, everything my child would need, all going to Amy's house. Thank you again, Amy said as I closed her trunk. For everything. The money, being here today. Don't mention it. I mean it. I know you're not really the baby type, but you've been amazing through all this. Not the baby type. The words stung more than they should have. Over the next few weeks, Amy's smugness grew with her belly. She started showing up at family dinners with ultrasound photos, talking endlessly about nursery themes and birth plans. The doctor says she's measuring perfectly, Amy announced at Sunday dinner, spreading the latest sonogram across the table. Look at those little fingers. I stared at the grainy image of my daughter's hands. She's going to be beautiful, Mom cooed, just like her mama. Have you picked a name yet? Dad asked. We're thinking Isabella Rose, Amy said. Bella for short. That's lovely, Mom said. So feminine and sweet. I bit my tongue. I'd already chosen a name, Sadie, after my grandmother who died when I was 12, the only person in the family who'd ever really understood me. Sydney, you're quiet tonight, Dad observed. Just tired. Work's been busy. Always work with you, Mom sighed. You know, Amy's been reading all these parenting books. She's going to be such a natural mother. Unlike some people, Amy added with a little laugh. I looked up sharply. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing bad, just that we all have different strengths. You're brilliant with business stuff, but I've always been the nurturing one. Right, the nurturing one. Remember when we were kids and I used to take care of all my dolls? I had that whole nursery set up in my room, and you were always in Dad's office playing with his calculator. Mom laughed. Sydney was doing tax returns at age 10. See? We're just wired differently, Amy said. Some women are meant to be mothers, and some are meant to be other things. The conversation moved on, but those words echoed in my head. Some women are meant to be mothers. That night, I couldn't sleep. I drove to the baby store and wandered the aisles, touching cribs and changing tables. I bought a mobile with little stars that played Brahms' lullaby. The cashier smiled at me. When are you due? I'm not pregnant. It's for my sister. Her smile faltered. Oh, that's nice of you. I assembled the mobile in my spare bedroom, the one I'd been slowly converting into a nursery. The walls were still bare, but I'd bought a crib, a rocking chair, and a dresser, everything in soft yellow and white, gender neutral, just in case. The next morning, Mom called. Sydney, I need to talk to you about something. What's wrong? It's about Amy's baby shower. Some of the ladies were asking questions. What kind of questions? About why you're so involved. Mrs. Patterson mentioned you seemed intense about the whole pregnancy. I gripped the phone tighter. Intense how? She said you were watching Amy very closely during the gift opening, and you bought the most expensive present on the registry. So? So it's unusual? You've never shown much interest in babies before. Here it came, the conversation I'd been dreading. Maybe I'm just trying to be a good sister. Sydney. Mom's voice turned serious. You're 35 years old. You've never been married, never even had a serious relationship that we know of. You work constantly. You live alone. What's your point? My point is that some women just aren't meant to nurture. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can't try to live vicariously through Amy. The words hit like a slap. Live vicariously? This baby isn't yours, Sydney. Amy is the mother. You need to remember that. I stared at the mobile, spinning slowly above the empty crib. Some women just aren't meant to nurture, I repeated. Exactly. You have other gifts. Your career, your success. Right, my other gifts. I'm just saying, don't get too attached. This is Amy's miracle, not yours. After I hung up, I sat in the nursery for an hour, watching the little stars dance in circles. Amy's miracle, Amy's baby, Amy's everything. But when I closed my eyes, I could see the ultrasound image from dinner, tiny fingers that carried my DNA, my genetic code, my future. Let them think what they wanted. In a few months, they'd learn exactly what kind of woman I was meant to be. The call came at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. "Sydney, it's happening!" Amy's voice was breathless with pain and excitement. "My water broke. We're heading to the hospital." I was already reaching for my clothes. "I'll be right there." "No, don't come yet. Labor could take hours. I'll call you when—" Her voice cut off in a sharp gasp. "Amy?" "Contraction," Blaze said, taking the phone. "She's okay. We'll update you soon." The line went dead. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone. My daughter was coming. 2 weeks early, but coming. I showered, dressed, and drove to the hospital anyway. The maternity ward was quiet at 4 a.m., all soft lighting and hushed voices. I found the waiting area and settled in with a cup of terrible coffee. At 6 a.m., Mom and Dad arrived, looking frazzled but excited. "Any word?" Mom asked. "Not yet. They've been in there for 2 hours." "First babies always take forever," Dad said, settling into a chair. "You girls certainly did." More family trickled in as the morning wore on. Amy's in laws, a few close friends, Blaze's brother, everyone buzzing with anticipation, checking phones, pacing the small waiting room. I sat apart from the group, watching them plan and speculate about the baby they thought was Amy's. At 11:23 a.m., Blaze burst through the doors, still in scrubs, tears streaming down his face. "She's here! She's perfect! 7 pounds, 2 ounces!" The waiting room erupted. Mom started crying. Dad pumped Blaze's hand, everyone talking at once. "How's Amy?" someone asked. "Exhausted but amazing. She was incredible." Blaze wiped his eyes. "You can see them in about an hour once they get settled." I hung back while everyone else crowded around Blaze, asking about labor details and visiting schedules. My hands were shaking. "Sydney!" Blaze appeared beside me. "You okay? You look pale." "Just tired. Long night." He studied my face. "She has blue eyes." My heart stopped. "What?" "The baby. Bright blue eyes. It's funny because neither Amy nor I have blue eyes. Neither do our parents. Babies are born with blue eyes sometimes," I managed. "They change." "Maybe." But he was looking at me strangely. "She also has this little dimple in her chin, right here." He touched his own chin. "Just like yours." Before I could respond, a nurse appeared. "Family of Amy Gardner? You can visit now, but only two at a time." Mom and Dad went first, of course. Then Amy's parents. Then Blaze's family. I was last on the list, as always. When my turn finally came, I walked down the hallway on unsteady legs. Room 314. I knocked softly. "Come in," Amy called. She was propped up in bed, glowing despite her exhaustion, holding a tiny bundle wrapped in pink blankets. My daughter. "Sydney, come meet your niece." I approached the bed slowly. The baby was sleeping, her face peaceful and perfect. Dark hair, long eyelashes, and when she briefly opened her eyes, blue. Unmistakably blue. "She's beautiful," I whispered. "Isn't she? Look at these tiny fingers." Amy unwrapped the blanket slightly. And she has the sweetest little dimple right here. There it was. The same dimple I'd had since birth, the one that showed when I smiled. Can I hold her? Amy hesitated. Maybe later? She just fell asleep, and the nurses said, Of course. I stepped back. I don't want to disturb her. You seem nervous around her, Amy observed. It's okay, you know. Not everyone is comfortable with newborns. Not comfortable with my own child. I should let you rest, I said. Wait. Amy grabbed my hand. I wanted to thank you again. Without your help, none of this would have happened. She wouldn't be here. No, she wouldn't. I keep thinking about what you said at the baby shower, about how this baby owes her existence to you. You were right, if only she knew how right. I was almost to the door when Amy called out again. Oh, and Sydney. We decided on a name. Isabella Rose, like we talked about, but we're calling her Bella. I turned back. Bella, do you like it? I looked at my daughter, Sadie, not Bella, sleeping in her mother's arms. The wrong mother's arms. It's perfect. In the hallway, I nearly collided with a hospital courier carrying an official looking envelope. Excuse me, he said. I'm looking for the Gardner family, room 314. That's them. This is for the whole family. Legal documents. I need someone to sign for delivery. I watched him knock on Amy's door, heard the confusion in her voice when he explained he had papers for the family to review. Important papers that couldn't wait. What kind of papers? Amy asked. I'm just the messenger, ma'am. But it looks like custody documentation, birth certificate amendments, that sort of thing. My phone buzzed. A text from Jose. Package delivered. Game time. I walked to the elevator, my heart pounding. In a few minutes, Amy would open that envelope and find the DNA test results, the surrogacy contract, and the legal declaration of maternity. In a few minutes, everything would change. The elevator doors opened and I stepped inside. As they closed, I could hear raised voices coming from room 314. It had begun. I was halfway to the parking garage when my phone exploded with calls. Amy, Blaze, Mom, Dad. I let them all go to voicemail and kept walking. By the time I reached my car, there were 12 missed calls and a stream of increasingly frantic texts. Call me now! Amy. What the hell is this? Blaze. Sydney, we need to talk immediately. Mom. I sat in the driver's seat and listened to Amy's first voicemail. Sydney, I don't understand these papers. There's a DNA test here that says the baby is yours and some contract I supposedly signed. Call me back right now. The second message was Blaze, his voice shaking with rage. You sick, twisted, how could you do this to us? To Amy, call us back or we're calling the police. I deleted the rest without listening and drove home. An hour later, they were pounding on my front door. Sydney, open this door right now! Mom's voice carried through the wood. I opened it to find the entire family clustered on my porch. Mom, Dad, Amy clutching the baby, and Blaze looking like he wanted to murder me. We need to talk, Dad said grimly. I stepped aside and let them in. Amy went straight to my living room couch, the baby fussing in her arms. Explain this, Mom demanded, throwing the legal documents on my coffee table. Explain how this baby is supposedly yours. I picked up the DNA test results. It's pretty straightforward. The child shares my genetic material, not Amy's. That's impossible, Amy said. I carried her for 9 months. I gave birth to her. You carried her. You didn't create her. Blaze stepped forward. You used Amy as a surrogate without telling her. I used Amy as a surrogate with a signed contract. I never signed anything, Amy shrieked. I flipped to the second page of the contract. Your signature is right there. Amy stared at the document. I I don't remember signing this. You signed it the day you agreed to the IVF funding. You were so excited about the money, you barely looked at the paperwork. But you said it was just financial agreements. I said you should read what you sign. You chose not to. Mom sank into a chair. Sydney, what have you done? I became a mother. Isn't that what you all wanted? For someone in this family to finally produce an heir? Not like this, Dad said quietly. Not through deception. Deception? I laughed. Amy asked me for $50,000 to have a baby. I gave her $50,000 and she had a baby. My baby. The baby started crying. Amy rocked her automatically, but her eyes never left my face. She's mine, Amy whispered. I carried her. I went through labor. I'm her mother. Biologically, legally, and financially, she's mine. I sat down across from them. The gestational carrier has no parental rights under the terms of the contract. Gestational carrier? Amy's voice cracked. Is that what I am to you? It's what you agreed to be. Blaze grabbed the contract and started reading. This is. Jesus Christ, Sydney. Full custody and parental rights transferred to the biological mother upon birth. The gestational carrier waives all maternal claims. You planned this whole thing. I planned to have a child. Just like Amy planned to have a child. The difference is I succeeded. Amy stood up suddenly, clutching the baby tighter. No, no, I'm not giving her up. She's my daughter. She's not. I don't care what your papers say. I'm her mother. The courts will disagree. The courts? Dad looked stricken. Sydney, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. I have legal custody. If Amy doesn't return my daughter voluntarily, I'll have her arrested for kidnapping. The room went dead silent except for the baby's soft whimpering. You're insane, Blaze said finally. You're actually insane. I'm a mother protecting her child. Amy was crying now, tears streaming down her face as she held the baby. Please, Sydney, please don't do this. I love her. You love the idea of her. You love the attention she brings you, but she was never yours to love. She grew inside me. She grew from my egg, fertilized in my cycle, with my genetic code. You were just the incubator. Amy flinched like I'd slapped her. Mom stood up slowly. Get out. Excuse me? Get out of this house. Get out of our family. If you take that baby from Amy, you're dead to us. I looked around the room at their faces, angry, disgusted, heartbroken. You were never my family anyway. Sydney, Dad tried one more time. Please, think about what you're doing. I walked over to Amy and held out my arms. Give me my daughter. No. Amy. I said no. The baby was crying harder now, sensing the tension in the room. Amy tried to soothe her, but her own sobs were making it worse. Her name is Sadie, I said quietly. Not Bella, not Isabella. Sadie, after Grandma Rose, the only person in this family who ever loved me unconditionally. Amy looked up at me with pure hatred. How could you do this to me? I met her eyes without flinching. You never thought I could be a mother. I showed you how wrong you were. The custody hearing was scheduled for the following Friday. Amy refused to speak to me, but Jose assured me the case was ironclad. The contract is valid, the DNA test is conclusive, and you're listed as the biological mother on all medical records, he said over coffee. Judge Martinez has handled surrogacy cases before. This should be straightforward. What about Amy's emotional attachment argument? Irrelevant. Gestational carriers develop attachments all the time. It doesn't override legal contracts. The hearing lasted exactly 47 minutes. Amy sat across the courtroom with her lawyer, dabbing her eyes with tissues while Blaze held her hand. Mom and Dad flanked them, shooting daggers at me with their eyes. Judge Martinez reviewed the documents with clinical efficiency. The surrogacy contract appears to be properly executed, she said. Both parties signed, the terms are clear, and the biological evidence supports Ms. Sidney's claim to maternity. Amy's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client was emotionally vulnerable when she signed this contract. She was desperate to have a child and trusted her sister implicitly. Did your client read the contract before signing? She. No, Your Honor. But then that's her responsibility, not the court's concern. Judge Martinez looked over her glasses. The law is clear on gestational surrogacy agreements in this state. When properly executed, they are binding. But, Your Honor, Amy's lawyer tried again, my client carried this child for 9 months, went through labor, as she was contractually obligated to do. Miss Amy was compensated $50,000 for her services as a gestational carrier. I watched Amy's face crumble as the judge reduced her pregnancy to a business transaction. Custody is awarded to Miss Sidney, the biological and legal mother. Miss Amy has 48 hours to transfer the child. Amy let out a sob that echoed through the courtroom. That evening, I stood in Sadie's nursery, the real one, in my house, making final preparations. The crib was assembled, the changing table stocked, bottles sterilized and waiting. My phone rang. Mom. Sydney, please. Let's talk about this. The court has spoken. Forget the court, I'm talking mother to mother. I thought I wasn't the mother type. You're not. The words burst out of her. You're cold. You're calculating. You work 16-hour days. What kind of life is that for a baby? The kind of life I choose to give my daughter. Amy loves that baby. She's been preparing for motherhood her whole life, preparing to be a mother to someone else's child. Sydney, listen to me. You can still fix this. Drop the custody claim. Let Amy adopt the baby legally. You can be the aunt. Be involved. I'm not interested in being the aunt to my own child. Then what do you want? I looked at the mobile spinning slowly over the empty crib. I want what Amy had for 9 months. I want to be someone's whole world. You'll destroy this family. This family destroyed itself a long time ago. The line went quiet for a moment. If you take that baby from Amy, you'll have no one, no family, no support system. Is that really what you want? I'll have Sadie. One person can't be your whole world, Sydney. Watch me. I hung up and finished folding tiny onesies, each one softer than anything I'd ever owned. Saturday morning, Amy and Blaze arrived at my door with the baby carrier. Amy's eyes were swollen from crying, and she moved like she was in physical pain. Please, she whispered one last time. Please don't do this. I held out my arms. Give me my daughter. Amy kissed Sadie's forehead, whispering something I couldn't hear. Then she placed the carrier in my hands. Her bottles are in the diaper bag. She likes to be swaddled tight when she sleeps. She has a birthmark on her left shoulder that looks like a tiny heart. Thank you. Don't thank me. Amy's voice was hollow. Just love her. Promise me you'll love her. She's my daughter. Of course I'll love her. Amy nodded and walked back to the car without looking back. Blaze lingered on the porch. This isn't over, he said quietly. Yes, it is. Amy will never forgive you. None of us will. I looked down at Sadie, sleeping peacefully in her carrier. I'm not asking for forgiveness. After they left, I carried Sadie into the nursery and sat in the rocking chair. She was so small, so perfect. Her tiny hand wrapped around my finger with surprising strength. Hello, Sadie, I whispered. I'm your mama. She opened her blue eyes, my eyes, and looked at me with the unfocused gaze of a newborn. But for a moment, it felt like she was really seeing me. For the first time in my life, I was someone's first choice. The cost had been everything else I'd ever known. But sitting there in the quiet nursery with my daughter in my arms, it felt worth it. I had won. The first week with Sadie was a blur of feedings, diaper changes, and sleepless nights. I'd hired a night nurse for the transition, but I sent her home after 3 days. I wanted to do this myself. My phone buzzed constantly with texts I didn't read and calls I didn't answer. The doorbell rang at all hours, family members, friends of Amy's, even a few reporters who'd somehow gotten wind of the story. I ignored them all. On Thursday morning, Savannah showed up at my door with coffee and bagels. You look like hell, she said, pushing past me into the living room. Thanks. Very supportive. How's she doing? Savannah peered into the bassinet where Sadie was sleeping. Perfect? She's absolutely perfect. And how are you doing? I sank onto the couch. Tired, but good. Really good. Have you heard from Amy? No, and I don't want to. Savannah sat beside me. Sydney, I have to ask, was it worth it? I looked at my daughter, her tiny chest rising and falling in peaceful sleep. Ask me in 18 years. I'm asking now. Yes, it was worth it. But even as I said the words, I felt the weight of my isolation. No congratulations cards, no visitors bringing casseroles, no family photos with 3 generations of women, just me and Sadie in a house that felt too big and too quiet. The following week, Jose stopped by with legal documents. Birth certificate is finalized, he said, handing me the official paperwork. Sadie Rose Sidney. You're listed as the mother. No mention of Amy anywhere. Good. There's something else. He pulled out his phone. Amy's been posting on social media. He showed me a series of Instagram posts, photos of empty nurseries with captions like, When your sister steals your miracle. A picture of baby clothes with grieving the daughter I'll never hold again. One particularly dramatic selfie with the text, "Betrayal comes from those closest to you." She's getting a lot of sympathy, Jose said. The story's spreading. Some people are calling you a monster. Let them. Sydney, this could affect your business, your reputation. I don't care. But I did care. That night, I made the mistake of looking at the comments on Amy's posts. Hundreds of strangers calling me evil, heartless, a sociopath. Someone had posted my company's information, encouraging people to leave negative reviews. I closed the laptop and picked up Sadie, who was fussing in her crib. "It's just us, baby girl," I whispered. "Just us against the world." She settled against my chest, her breathing evening out. In the darkness of the nursery, with my daughter in my arms, the outside world felt very far away. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. I opened the door to find Blaze standing on my porch, looking haggard and defeated. "Can I come in?" "What do you want?" "To see her. Just once." I hesitated, then stepped aside. He followed me to the living room where Sadie was having tummy time on a blanket. "She's grown," he said quietly. "It's been 2 weeks. Amy's not doing well. She won't eat, won't sleep. She just sits in the nursery we set up, holding the clothes we bought. That's not my problem, isn't it?" He looked at me sharply. "You did this to her." "I had a baby. My baby." "You destroyed her." "She destroyed herself by assuming she could take what wasn't hers." Blaze knelt beside Sadie, who was trying to lift her head. "You know what the worst part is? I think I always knew. Deep down, I knew something was off about the whole thing." "Then why didn't you say anything?" "Because Amy wanted it so badly, and I wanted to give her what she wanted." He touched Sadie's tiny hand. "But this isn't what she wanted. She wanted to be a mother, not a surrogate. She can still be a mother, to her own children. We've been trying for 4 years, Sydney. This was our last chance." "No, this was my last chance. Amy just happened to be the vessel." He stood up slowly. "You're right about one thing. You're not the nurturing type. A nurturing person wouldn't have done this. A nurturing person would have been walked over for the rest of her life. Maybe, but she would have had a family." After he left, I sat on the floor next to Sadie, watching her discover her own hands. She was so innocent, so unaware of the chaos her existence had caused. My phone rang. Mom again. This time, I answered. "Sydney, what do you want?" "I want to meet my granddaughter." The words hung between us. After everything that had happened, she was still trying to claim Sadie. "You said if I took her from Amy, I'd be dead to you." I was angry. I said things. "You meant them. She's still family, Sydney. She's still my granddaughter." "No, she's not." I looked down at Sadie, who was staring up at me with those blue eyes. "She's my daughter, my family, and you'll never take her from me." I hung up and blocked the number. That evening, I sat in the rocking chair, feeding Sadie her bottle. The house was quiet except for the soft sounds of her drinking and the tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway. I thought about what Blaze had said, about having a family versus having what I wanted, about the price of getting everything you think you need. Sadie finished her bottle and I lifted her to my shoulder, patting her back gently. She let out a small burp and then settled against me, her tiny body warm and trusting. "I gave everything to become a mother," I whispered into her soft hair, "including the illusion that I ever had a family to lose." She made a small sound, somewhere between a sigh and a coo. Outside, the world continued without us. Amy posted her grief, Mom made her demands, strangers judged my choices. But here, in this quiet room with my daughter in my arms, none of that mattered. I had won the only victory that counted. I was finally someone's whole world.